What's up, Scroats? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to an all-new episode of Low Value Mail with your host, me, Danny Paulschuk, episode 58 on this April 11th, 2023, in the year of our Lord. Boy, do we got an episode for you. I'm very excited about this. I'm just going to change a little thing here. Oh, you saw the green screen. Don't tell anybody. Joining us today, very special guest, Human Vibrations. I found out about her. Someone in the Discord, a patron of us, dropped in and said, hey, I really like this guest. You should get them on. And then bingo, bango, here we are. Tonight, Human Vibrations, basically, we're going to get into it, but she has a bit of a theory that JonBenet Ramsey is a giant psyop that never existed. I'm sure you want to learn more, just like I do. So we will bring her on very shortly onto the show. Before we do, just a couple things to get out of the way. As always, please, if you'd like to support the show, you could do so by subscribing to the channel. Leave a review on Spotify or whatever, all that stuff. Or join the Patreon locals, or become a scrote on the YouTube channel, and you'll get access to the after show, which is happening today at 11 p.m. We've been having a fun time. We get copyright strikes. It's a good time. It's a good time. We've been having a very good time on there. So consider helping us out. Go join there. There's also a free trial on Patreon right now. So really, it's free. It is literally free. Next week's guest, April 18th, we've got Johnny Vedmore. He's a journalist that has investigated the World Economic Forum extensively. We're going to have him on. We're going to talk to him. Very exciting. Tomorrow night at 10:30, we have an all-new episode of The Bathhouse. That's going to be a banger. We got tentatively, because last week I was like, I'm going to say who our guests are this week. 1 out of 3 showed up, which ain't bad if you're playing baseball. But we got Robbie the Fire Bernstein, Kevin Dombrowski, and Bonnie McFarlane, who was supposed to be on last week, but she could not make it. And then lastly, April 22nd, I'll be headlining in Morris Plains, New Jersey. I don't know if there's tickets available. I assume there are, but I have no idea. Haven't checked into that kind of stuff. And that's it. All right, let's get to the show. We're going to make it quick. I have a couple. Last week, we had quite a controversial guest on. Flat Earth Dave came on. I went to go check the voicemails. It was the most viewers we had ever had on an episode, ever. It was the most live viewers, that is. Actually, most views on any episode, period, of Low Value Mail. But the voicemails, I had so many voicemails. It was insane. So we're going to go to the Low Value Mailbox. And then we are going to get the show on the road, as you will. And as always, not as always, but we have a new number. Don't forget, we have a 800 number for the Scroats in Canada, because I was tired of you getting screwed over. So make sure you do that. Dial extension 1. You can actually dial extension 2. It doesn't really matter. It's not going to do anything. But that is it. Okay. Let's listen to some voicemails from the Low Value Mail Box.
Hey, yeah, I'm a satellite controller for NOAA, and I got to tell you, this Flat Earth Dave guy, man, he's just full of it. Anybody who believes in this, he keeps bringing up stuff like the New World Order and the moon and everything. Anyone who believes in that stuff, that stuff is probably true. A lot of those conspiracies are probably true. You bring up Flat Earth, all it does is discredit you in everybody's eyes, and it makes everything else you bring up look like crap. And I work for Polar Satellites. I mean, these satellites go from McMurdo to Svalbard in 1 2-hour, 12, 13 times a day, in one orbit. And there's no freaking way that the Earth is flat. All the data that NOAA gets is available on the internet. Anyone can get it. It's 100% completely available to the public. What I do is not even classified as satellite control. So this is just entirely ridiculous. And this is dangerous to get people to believe in something so obviously false and then tie it into actual conspiracies. It just completely discredits everybody. So that's what this guy's all about.
All right. That was a I mean, here's the thing. That's the one thing I'll disagree with him on is I don't know the stakes are very high with Flat Earth. I don't feel like they are. Like that seems like one of those conspiracies where you're just like, yeah, I don't know. Like, is there any stakes here? Like, are there any scientists who are there going to be any planes crashing because they're doing like math differently because of their idea that the Earth's fat? I don't think so. Maybe, but I don't think so. And next up, this one is near and dear to my heart. I had about 10 messages from this man right here. He really wanted to get through last week, and he wasn't able to. So I picked his last voicemail, which I also thought was his best voicemail. So William left us a little.
Hey, Danny, it's William from New Mexico again. I just heard you jab at that one fucking flat earther guy because he only spends dollars to prove his methods or his theories, and people have, it's been through history, people have slowly been adding on to what we know as astronomy, chemistry, biology. So I think it's absurd for these kind of people to be like, oh, yeah, I turned to stone and, now I'm seeking knowledge, and that because of that, the earth is flat to me now. It's completely absurd. These people, they really need to question themselves before they start just basically saying they're right and then enforcing it over everybody. It's like... they don't really want to say it, but it's like the fucking retard trans people and them forcing their stupid bullshit on people. It's like, it's not going to work. All right. You can do it and it'll work for the fucking, the like actual retards that don't care about their self-identities or have no morals, shit like that. But if you meet a real person, they're not going to take any of this stupid bullshit because they simply have education. There is mathematics that back all this shit up. And I know it might take a lot. They're going to have to go through geometry, fucking algebra, trigonometry, pre-calc, calculus before they even start getting the concepts of the math. But they need to really hunker down and just get through it because math, it's really a transcendental, I think is the word. It might not even be the right word. But it's a language that transcends languages. I mean, when have you gone somewhere and math is wrong? Math is math. It's a language that upholds truth. So I don't even know where I'm going with this. I'm really fucking drunk right now. But yeah, these people are retards. I really do think he has a bunch of his own people fucking calling the lines. Because, dude, how many of his supporters have come on compared to how many people that have actual questions and are trying to challenge his bullshit? Like, come on. All right. Bye.
I mean, it's a tight-knit crew in the Flat Earth community, I guess. That's all that's all I can really say is that the Flat Earthers, they support one another, just like the low-value males do over here. But yeah, again, and it's funny because he got perpetually drunker and drunker as the voicemails went on because he was getting more frustrated and drunker. But I will say this isn't like the trans stuff because that is actually affecting your life, whereas this is not affecting your life. Now maybe if you could put a case together where you're like, if there's a certain amount of flat earthers where you could say this could become a problem, I don't know, but for now I am unconcerned with the flat earth folks. And on that note, let's get this party started. One moment, please. Let's get human vibrations in. Oh, there we are. Let's move myself over. Hold on. Can you hear me there? She's got to unmute herself.
I can hear you loud and clear.
There we are. Hello, welcome to Low Value Mail Human Vibrations. Thank you for joining us today. How you doing?
My pleasure. Excellent. How are you?
I'm very well. So let me just adjust this quickly. Okay, so we got a spicy one today. This was I saw you also on, or you sent me the link for, you were on a friend of mine, Sam Tripoli's podcast, talking about this.
Yes.
And at the time, you were because I listened to you at the time. You were, I guess, anonymous, right?
Yeah, that was the first time I'd ever spoken about this out loud outside of Twitter, and I had never put myself out there with this stuff. It was all pretty new to me. That was April of 2020. So
Okay.
3 years ago.
And you've garnered a pretty sizable following on Twitter. Is it mostly from the JonBenet stuff, or just general musings?
Yeah, I would say JonBenet was the original. It's the kernel. Everything kind of stems from the explorations that I get into within the thread. I'm fascinated with the technology that we're experiencing today, this AI, the onslaught of AI, and I go deep into that in the thread. It was a fascination of mine then, back in 2020. I felt deeply that this technology has always existed. What we understand as new technology is simply new to us as humanity, and we are just experiencing it being rolled out over time as we are ready to receive it. And I think it's time to kind of understand that. I think it's time to understand that what we know is this real-time 3D identity generation that can fool the average human. It kind of looks a little weird still, but I think that's because we're still being shown the beta, the sandbox child version. I think that this technology is seamless and it has always existed.
So you must have a lot of, because AI's really picked up the pace in the last 6 months. So, and you were kind of talking about it 2 or 3 years ago.
3 years ago,
we didn't know any of this. Like the stuff that AI has been doing the last 6 months, you have probably...
I've been talking about this for 3 years.
Yeah, you've been talking about this for 3 years, but that must have been somewhat of a positive reinforcement, I guess. So I guess let's I'm trying to think where's the best place to start with this? How did you go down this? Like what was the one thing where you go, what's going on here? Like, so just
what's
to be clear,
going on here?
You don't believe that JonBenet Ramsey ever existed?
Correct. I believe JonBenet Ramsey, who was, if you don't know who she was, it was 1996. She was the 6-year-old child beauty queen, the picture of innocence and light, and she was brutally, sadistically slaughtered on Christmas night, like a lamb, like a lamb slaughtered on this day of days, and it was quite the spectacle, and it took over the news. At this time, we got our news from centralized locations. Cable news wasn't at the forefront yet. You got, your basic, your limited news, but it was everywhere. And she was on the cover of People magazine so many times. Her face was everywhere. This picture of innocence, this beautiful, 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 beautiful little girl.
Sure, it certainly gripped the nation.
Yeah, and I grew up with that. She was. I remember seeing that doll on the cover of. I was obsessed. And when I got into, I've always been a very curious person. When I got into college, I had my own computer for the first time, and one of the things that I love to do is conspiracy theories, and unsolved mysteries. And JonBenet Ramsey was a big one. From it always had, because it's still unsolved. Then haven't been in college for quite some time, but it's unsolved now. It was unsolved then. And it really captured my imagination. And prior to 2020 is when I started this exploration of her not existing. Prior to 2020, I was deep down the rabbit. I was deep in Q. I was I was on Pedo Island. I was down the tunnel. I was Epstein's Island. I thought kids were getting eaten down there, and adrenochrome and everything Q. I was obsessed from like 2017 to 2019. I lost my mind, myself. I lost myself. I lost myself in what was very, 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 very gripping game.
Okay.
And
so what are you out of that? Like you're just.
I just see it as a game now. I see it as this is a case study in how to capture the human mind.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And and you're no longer into the QAnon stuff? Like, what is your take on that?
I see it as all theater. I see it as theater of the mind. I don't believe Epstein exists.
You don't believe Jeffrey Epstein exists?
No, I believe he was a straw man character. I believe he's a straw man character. He only really existed on paper and in pixels. Very few actual in-person appearances were played by a body double. That was very, very, very rare that anybody actually saw Jeffrey Epstein. It was actually very rare that he had any video footage, and the video footage that he did have was just this one. It was an interrogation of him, not interrogation, but a questioning and deposition is the right term. And he was being asked one of the first questions out of the the question asker's mouth was something about his egg-shaped penis, which had been talked about by these women, but he shut that was enough, and he shut the interview down right there. There was very few words spoken, maybe 6 or 7 words out of Jeffrey Epstein, and that was the only video for quite some time. And all the images, if you really look at him, if you really scrutinize them, I believe that there's just nothing going on behind the eyes. I believe all the hallmarks of what we're seeing now with digital photographs, these digitally generated, AI generated photographs, computer generated photographs. Photographs is the wrong word. Image is the correct word.
Yeah.
Images is the correct word, but they are tricking the eye when you think it's a photo. You don't realize it's a computer generated image. That's what's happening. We are seeing photos of Jeffrey Epstein. And I want to redirect the eye to realize that these are digitally generated and digitally altered images. Go back and look at his image. Go back and look at his pictures. There is something. The eye lines are always off. Nobody's ever looking in the right place. There's always a weird hand on. There's always something slightly off. There's one photo where they're both walking. Him and Ghislaine. They're walking in a movie theater, lockstep. Both of them are missing a foot.
Really?
Both of them.
They're missing a foot?
Both of them are missing the foot.
And so what is not to get too far off topic with the Jeffrey Epstein thing. So like, was there someone else were these crimes never committed? Was there no Jeffrey Epstein? I mean, I'll tell you who wants Jeffrey Epstein to not exist. Bill Clinton. I'm sure he would love that. I'm sure he'd be like,
I think everybody that we understand as the powerful beings, like the Clinton kill list, that used to befuddle my mind. That used to just baffle me. How can this actually happen? I was so enraged at the Clintons.
Yeah.
I just see it as this is all a game.
Sure.
There's no kill list. Well, who's the one? Vince Foster.
Yeah.
He didn't exist.
You're saying all of them never existed. And okay, so
there's
I guess
probably some real people who have just exited. Real people who have been paid to exit and start a new life as Dick and Susie in Ohio instead of Bob and Lorraine in California.
Like the witness protection program, but
we've been taught and told that there is such a thing.
Yes, there is a way for that to happen. Okay, so I guess let's go with the motives here. Why? Because
distraction.
Yeah, because I guess what you're saying is pretty serious, and like now with the JonBenet thing, that's interesting because her father had a big like technology company that was
Access Graphics, which was
Access
acquired by
Graphics.
Lockheed Martin. Yeah, Lockheed Martin, who at the time in 1995, 96, when they acquired Access Graphics, they were heavily investing in the 3D space. They were actually in coordination with Sega Gaming Systems. They were developing these 3D. They were using what they already had in 3D and introducing it to the public through these public-facing companies that were essentially government entities. Lockheed Martin being essentially our largest defense contractor. Why is our largest defense contractor spending an inordinate amount of their budget on 3D graphics systems?
Yeah,
that doesn't make sense. That doesn't. But then you look into it, and it's like, they have all these explanations. Oh, satellites. We're doing it. There's all these plausibles. There's so many plausibilities. Of course, you need 3D graphics technology and extreme render capability for satellite imagery as well, I guess.
Sure.
But the byproduct as well, they're developing all of these intense technologies for real-time 3D rendering through computer chips, through the hardware, the software, everything that's needed to accomplish this. That's what her father, that's the story goes. Her father that's what his company did.
Yeah.
And that's kind of interesting. I think it's a little foretelling.
And do you believe this is some sort of psychological warfare? Like, is that?
Yeah.
Like on the American people.
On everybody.
Everybody globally. And
humanity.
And is it is there like some super, super deep state? Like, is that what you think it is? And like, what are the motives? I guess what are the motives?
I think that our attention, our human attention, our focused energy and attention is the most potent and powerful resource on this planet. And I think it is the most valuable entity.
Okay. I mean,
and I think all of these stories, I think that JonBenet Ramsey being an absolute hallmark in how to captivate the mind, how to absolutely capture the mind, capture the mind of a populace.
Sure. And that was pre-internet too. So that was when you really had, not pre-internet literally, but like that was, in the 90s
Baby
where
internet.
you could really get people's attention.
Mm-hmm.
Like there weren't that many avenues in order to kind of.
Correct.
So, okay. And do you think that there's been, I mean, I'm going to go all over the place, but do you think there's been anything similar since?
Oh, yeah.
This is just happening all the time.
Madeline McCann.
Yeah, she's
the UK. She's the UK JonBenet.
Okay.
I mean, okay, let's go through some JonBenet things. This is how.
Yes, please do.
This is what.
If you want, sorry to cut you off, but if you want, I have a screen capture of your Twitter thread.
Oh, sure.
In case there's anything you would like specific, you would like referenced. Just before we get going, though, I just had a question from Indy Keegan. He says, have you seen the movie Simone with Al Pacino, 2002, about a fictional movie star? He says it's a pretty similar plot to these theories. That's from Indy Keegan.
Spot on. My co-host on Real Eyes Radio, his name's Rambo. Shout out Rambo. Seek the Truth 101 on Twitter. This movie was the one that cracked it open for him. JonBenet Ramsey cracked it open for me, so I could see so many other things differently. Once I understood that this story was fabricated, and I kind of understand the underpinnings why, and we'll get into that. That was like, psh, and then everywhere I looked, I was like, whoa, everything's new. And for Rambo, for my co-host, his was Simone, that movie. The understanding that these idols, our heroes and villains are top of the top, our icons. It's in the name, icon, to trick the eye, con. But our icons, our biggest icons, I truly believe are characters, are simply characters. Your Oprahs, your Tom Cruise's. There's, how Tom Cruise always looks a little different every once in a while. They're like, Tom Cruise sure looks different these days. Oh, it's his aging process. And then we're, it's taboo to really talk about it, but it's kind of like, he's looking different. What
do you think, they're just replacing him with like a body double?
On the Netflix show The Crown, the whole underpinning of that show is that I think it's 2 seasons, every 2 seasons, all the roles are swapped out. The bass actor playing the Queen, the bass actor playing Prince Philip, the bass actor playing, they're just all rotated, like a just brand new person playing the same role. Instead of aging actors or just doing what any other show would do, just do something to continue, age, usually it's aging, to technologies. Instead of doing that, they just replace the person that plays that role. New Queen every 2 seasons, which I've always thought was it's revelation of the method, perhaps, is the best way.
You don't think that's just a choice for that, like specific show?
Well, I don't believe in I don't believe the royal family. I believe it's all facade. It's all artifice. It's their characters as much of it. They're holding up
like kind of a Truman Show. Are you a flat earther? I only ask this because there's like some kind of element there.
I believe it's a flat plane that we're on. I believe we're in a realm. It's more of a realm. I think shape is actually irrelevant. I think shape is irrelevant. I think it could be any shape at all. The applied physics, I think, are what we believe as the consensus. What the physics that we are fed and what we believe. I believe that renders the shape of this place. I actually believe that we are influencing collectively this realm, perhaps more than the other way around.
Okay.
And maybe it's round and flat, but I do
round
recognize
but you don't think it's a sphere,
like a flat plane,
sure,
that can be rendered to any shape based on the applied physics. That it's how in The Simpsons, when they'd kind of show you like the back door, like they'd kind of go into that 4D plane.
Well, there was the one,
world.
there was the in the in the 90s where they had the 3D. Yeah. That 3D episode.
I think there's something there. There's a there.
One more question.
Simpsons predicted everything else. Sorry.
Yeah, that is true. Psychedelic drugs?
I have recently gone psychedelic. I had my first psychedelic experience last year, and I loved it. And I'm pro.
Okay.
I don't seek it out, and I don't think that it's something that should be overused or substituted for real investigation and self work. But boy, howdy, is it cool as shit and makes you think things that you could never, just makes you go places you could never go.
Yeah.
And I'm, under certain circumstances, I think that that's a positive exploration.
Okay, but you weren't, those never influenced this. You got to psychedelic drugs well after all.
Years later. Yeah, a couple years later.
Okay,
Not years later, but yeah, 2 years later.
Okay. Give me the quick rundown for maybe like 10 minutes ish, and then we'll open up the phone lines.
Okay, awesome. So the thing that really cracked it open for me was just her appearance. I was obsessed with this case. I really was. I was just obsessed with every detail of the case. So I knew it from the Epstein standpoint. I actually thought at one point, pretty close to when I radicalized, I thought that she was part of like the Epstein ring. I kind of thought that Ghislaine Maxwell had snatched her up, and I thought Ghislaine Maxwell had also, and the Podesta brothers, and
yeah,
I just thought I thought that maybe this will all solve it. If we're about to get Epstein, for all these unspeakable crimes, this is back when I still believed in that. But I really thought that, okay. So all that said, I knew the details of the case. I knew a lot of the details of the case, but I was looking at it from a very specific way, very specific angle, really like the worst of the worst that could happen to that poor girl. And then I had a break from all of it, and I did some, I just took a step back from everything, and meanwhile in my IRL, and I work in 3D graphics and graphic design, and I had been reintroduced. I was always obsessed with the kind of like 3D, just the technology around it and rendering, but then I was reintroduced to the website thispersondoesnotexist.com. So kind of around this time, I had been just playing again with that site. If you're not familiar with it, it's a computer generated face. It's a face, and then you press refresh, and another face, and you press refresh, and it's another face. Looks like any face from Facebook.
And it just takes
looks
like
a regular
a
face.
million photos, mashes them all together, essentially.
Yeah,
with, like,
computer generated faces based on everything
Right.
we've ever fed it about human faces, and knows, and it can get, and it's just, but they're all unreal, and they're all computer generated, even though some of them look quite, they could pass. But once you kind of train your brain on it, once you see it a couple times, once it stops tricking you, you'll start to notice that these faces look remarkably unreal. What might have tricked you the first few clicks, by 60 seconds in, you're spotting it easily. You're starting to spot anomalies in the pictures. There's weird stuff going on. There's earlobes that don't make sense. The teeth don't make sense. There's what your eye did not see previously is now just, it's all you can see. And so, but that does something. That's a cognitive conditioning for the brain. You get to understand what a fake face looks like. Okay, so in the background that had been working. So I go back to, this is early January 2020. I just look at the case again, JonBenet Ramsey, because it's kind of a fascination of mine. Obviously. Okay. Something strikes me, and I'm like, oh my God, this is one of those faces. I just get struck with this uncanny valley feeling. I'd never felt that before when looking at her thing. The thought had never crossed my mind that not only was she very, very real, I was like obsessed with her being real. I was obsessed with this little girl, weirdly. And then it just kind of like something ripped in my brain, and I was like, this looks like one of those faces.
What year was this?
2020, January of 2020, right before lockdown, right
Okay.
before Rona, which actually gave me a fresh perspective on everything that's going on with Corona. Anyway, that's for another time perhaps. Sure. But I was like, I don't know, something clicked, and I had this weird, this deep uncanny valley feeling, which we all had. We're all like preloaded with this ability to detect something unreal. It gives us this heebie-jeebie, kind of like a pit in our stomach. It's called the uncanny valley. You can research it. Every human being is wired with it. Even though it's kind of unexplained as to why, because why would we need to simulate? Why would we need to understand 3D faces as caveman? Yeah, it's an intuition, but it's specifically about things that are pretending to be human.
Okay.
There's a just, I don't want to get too
but like to combat like predators, essentially, to know like what's trying to eat you.
I don't know why cavemen would need it.
Well,
I don't know why cavemen, but I don't believe in deep history either. So it all kind of goes together. But we humans, this version of humanity, we are pre-wired with something called the uncanny valley. We get this weird sensation when we encounter something that is like this close to being real but not real. Like it's too close, you know, it needs to be either like cartoonish, like if you know, like that movie with Tom Hanks that was Polar Express or something.
Yeah.
People did not like that movie because it triggered this uncanny valley where it was a little too real for that time. It was cartoonish, but it was a little too real. Like the facial, it was a little too real and it was creepy. It was very, very, very creepy.
Like it was
People did not
just
like that. It
basically
was
the technology
unsettling.
was more than what people were comfortable with
Correct.
at that point.
Yeah, that gives you a weird feeling. And for some reason, I just got I when I look back at her picture, I got this feeling that it triggered something in me. So anyway, I just thought to look at the case again with fresh eyes. And a couple of things that I found. First off the bat, there was no record of her body at the morgue. Sure. The logbook pages, this is 1995, 1996. They do not have computer records at that time. It's all manual logbook, and there's no record of her being received because there was a news story written later that logbook page was stolen by someone who came in. But you know, whether or not it was stolen or not, there's no.
But it doesn't. There is no record of.
There's
the
no
body.
record.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the net. There's no record of her death certificate or a burial permit. And on Larry King Live, her parents, John and Patsy Ramsey, March 27th, 2000, it was just a couple of years later where they finally tell their story. They both said that they had neither seen nor received a copy of her death certificate. And she was buried in the state of Georgia just a couple of days after the incident. And in the state of Georgia, a death certificate must be filed with the local, you must have a death certificate to bury a body. Like it just, and she was, you know, her gravestone, but you don't need a death certificate to put a gravestone with no body in a cemetery.
Right. And so, why was it in Georgia if the crime was in Colorado?
That's where her family was from.
That's where they're from.
So that's where the story. That's where the Access Graphics was started.
Gotcha.
They only lived in Boulder a short time. Okay, the pageants. This was a big one for me. Because I'm looking at everything. And so I'm looking at everything with a new eye. I'm looking at everything with a new way of seeing it. And I look into the pageants, and something tells me look into the pageants. None of her pageants exist outside of her story. All the pageants that she was supposed to have won, there's no record of any other winners or pageants outside of JonBenet's title, meaning like she was the first, last, and only winner of any of these.
And was there like a possibility that like just there were poor record keeping? Because I saw one thing where you said like she had no friends come forward who said like I knew her.
Not until much later, and there was like this very strange
one person. Right?
Just very, very strange. Like it's when you start saying things, like noting that things don't exist, weirdly they begin to
and no yearbooks.
Right.
She was how old?
Kindergarten.
So no, I was in a yearbook when I was in kindergarten.
I don't know the time. We have a yearbook. We have what is Zuma Press owns a photograph of her. Zuma Press is really interesting. They own a lot of Epstein's imagery. I think that they are the purveyors of trauma porn. A lot of September 11th
What's
imagery.
Trauma
a lot of
porn? They're just like
just like imagery to support imagery to support these types of
that
stories.
They sell them?
And it's like a Getty Images.
It's like a Getty Images,
it's a professional image purveyor, but they own a lot of JonBenet Ramsey's original photography, which I find very interesting. And you can find what is on the internet, what is shown. There's lots of photos of her. There's lots of photos available, and there are like school photos it's just her picture, but there's not a yearbook.
Yeah. Wait, so they own the photos? So what? The parents sold the rights to the photos to them? They sold this $1 billion company, and they have to that seems odd.
Those are the types of things that I was wondering. Why is Zuma Press
there's just all these weird things where you kind of now. Is there, before we get going any further, is there anything that could convince you that she was in fact a real person?
Sure. Yeah, well, I mean, that I'd have to. I'm thinking like, do I have to go dig up the body? No, but sure. I can't think of what that could be because every piece of what what exists as the most compelling as evidence for, like we're just onslaughted with compelling evidence as to why she would exist. That's all. That's all that we've been given, and it's so compelling. So it would have to be something more than we've ever seen. And this case is still in the news. They're still trying to do these new DNA. This case is actually pretty interesting because it was one of the first cases that introduced to the masses the importance of DNA technology, what it could do within crime scenes. And not that long after, what was that? CSI Miami.
Yeah.
CSI, the whole crime scene was all about DNA and all about DNA. But we didn't really talk about DNA before the mid 90s. It wasn't talked about. It wasn't talked about as settled science. It wasn't used in court in the way that JonBenet Ramsey, the case of JonBenet Ramsey legally is actually quite interesting because it was one of those transitional times. It was one of the first cases that really used DNA evidence, which still, I think that there's like this complete medical misinterpretation of what DNA actually is and how it's used in like solving crimes. And a lot of it's just smoke and mirrors. But this was the first time that we were told that this DNA would solve the crime. And here we are, 25 years later, and they're still waiting on like some update in DNA technology identification for us to crack the case. I think it's just.
And was there no DNA at the crime scene, like from the murder? Like, was there?
The interesting thing about the crime scene is nobody saw the body. No detectives. The first detectives to show up on the scene, they're pretty interesting. It's the whole. Okay, so you have to remember, at this time, Boulder, Colorado has never had a murder. They've never had anything like this. It is literally.
They've never had a murder.
Boulder, Colorado had never had a murder.
Ever?
It was a very, very small town in 1996.
Isn't the University of Colorado there?
University of Colorado at Boulder. Doesn't mean they've had.
I was going to say, my brother used to live right outside of Boulder.
Maybe it was that year.
Or maybe that year. Yeah, I was going to say.
Maybe it was that year. Okay, maybe it was that year. But I do remember in the early reporting, much of the early reporting from the Denver Post, because Boulder police famously didn't let anybody in. Denver PD was like, we're going to help you solve this crime. And Boulder was like, nope, we're good. They didn't let any outside ever. They have famously remained very closed on this. But
have you been to the house?
No. I haven't been to the house. But I have been to Boulder, but it wasn't. It was before I was around in this line. But I'm like, if I go back to Colorado, I'm going to see the house. The address actually has changed, but the physical location is the same. But they changed the address for whatever reason. What's interesting about the home is it's on Zillow right now. Zillow for sale. You can see the JonBenet Ramsey home is actually for sale at this very moment.
Is it discounted or is there a premium?
No, it's actually quite expensive. It's multiple
nice
millions. I think it's like 7. Yeah, it's an okay house, but the images themselves look a little odd, a little like you're looking at a computer generated version of what an.
Wait, you're saying the house isn't real? I've seen it.
Okay, well, this is really interesting. On Court TV in the late 90s, Court TV had a segment on the family, and they had a helicopter aerial of the house, and it was the first time the home had been photographed other than the front facade, which actually looks like a Hansel and Gretel gingerbread house. It's like perfect. It's like this perfect.
Yeah, it does have like the big the.
It's got that slope. There's a little Santa outside on a sled. It's all dolled up for Christmas. It couldn't be more picturesque. Well, Court TV did a fly around, and the back of the house looks like a Hollywood soundstage. It's just like industrial. It's straight up industrial, and the front facade looks exactly as we've ever seen, this beautiful little gingerbread, and then you can see the separation between the facade and then trees, and then the back, there's like this flat roof with like a door opening out to it. There's no railing. It's straight up soundstage. There's like industrial fans. It's straight up industrial. Like it's very, 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 very strange.
The Ramsey family, they don't own that house currently. They're not the ones selling it.
No, they never returned to the home.
Yeah.
Never. Which makes me think they never lived there. I find that
you don't think that's such a traumatic thing potentially?
Part of their story is that they're very, very wealthy. And the only way you would be able to abandon a multi-million-dollar home is if you're very, very wealthy. Most families, no matter how tragic, My mom's dad died in their home. They didn't leave.
Sure.
You know, people die. People die in
Well,
homes.
I guess because
People
the
in
murder
crimes.
aspect. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't
Um,
know.
Okay.
I mean, I guess that yes, but they never returned. They never set foot back in the home, which
Interesting.
you know,
Yeah.
I
don't
don't
know if
think that
that's
the family ever lived there. I don't think, but yes,
yeah.
yes,
You
there
just think
is.
it's part of the whole just narrative
It's
essentially.
easily explained away. There's so many ways to explain away because the family story is very rich and robust, and the fact that they were extraordinarily wealthy and were able to do all these things, and without question, nobody questioned anything. It's like, well, the answer is they're wealthy. That's why.
Right.
Um,
Have we heard from them
and
recently? Or are they kind
the
of just
dad's back in the news quite a bit. John Ramsey is back in the news quite a bit, trying to get support for new DNA testing on.
And isn't he like the prime suspect? Or is that no longer?
Them and the brother.
Them and the brother.
Yeah, the dad and the brother. Yeah, I thought forever that the parents were deeply involved and the family was deeply involved. I thought the dad did it. I thought the brother did it. I've oscillated. There was actually an older brother who was said to have lived at the home, who went to University of Colorado at Boulder. He was in college at the time. That maybe there was some. Used to think that there might be some untoward. Why did we never know about this older brother who lived in the house? That's suspicious. And his bedroom's very close to JonBenet's bedroom. If you look at the floor plan of the house, I went down that rabbit hole. I was down all of them.
You've
I
been
really
down
thought that
them
the family
all.
was. I've been down them all. Now I just see it as a very, very deep, very in-depth. One more thing.
Yeah, say one more thing, and then I'm going to open the phone lines just because I think a lot of people are itching to ask you.
The interesting thing is, this goes back to John Ramsey. His story, he's Lockheed Martin. He's 3D graphics technology for computer gaming systems, but it's the applications are far-reaching. The next move that he makes, so the character story goes, is to a company called Jaleo North America, which facilitated the transition into HD live broadcast, which switched over in what year? 2000, right before the most spectacular HD live broadcast experience the planet has ever known. Just one year later. It's very, very interesting. Yeah. Okay. It's very, very interesting that JonBenet Ramsey's father was pivotally
So are you saying that that he's partially responsible for the fact that I'm able to live stream right now?
Well, this is more for news broadcasts.
Oh, news broadcasts.
What we're doing now is different.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, I think a lot of what we saw. Well, I think what we saw on 9/11 was a spectacle over the broadcast, like manipulation over broadcast.
Yeah.
A lot.
There were certainly a lot of. Do you think 9/11 happened?
The buildings came down.
But you don't think that was the story, the prevailing story that they provide? No. Okay. All right. I'm going to open the phone lines. We're going to take some calls here. So the phone lines are open, everybody. 1-888-949-2969. We have human vibrations here. Definitely interesting stuff. In the meantime, so what else? Because there was one thing you said. There was so Patsy Ramsey, she was also a beauty queen, correct?
Yeah, her story's kind of interesting. I think I like that her name's Patsy.
Yeah. Yeah, Patsy but she's not the Patsy though.
She was accused quite a bit.
Was she accused?
Yeah, she was for the pageant. There's a lot of if you go into deep in these rabbit holes, there's all these stories about JonBenet being taken to her doctor's office for all these rashes, these things that would indicate child abuse, straight up child abuse. Like you can find records of JonBenet Ramsey being taken to the doctor's office 33 times, before she was 6 years old. And of course, anybody looking at that would go, well, that kid's being diddled, kid,
being abused.
And that points to parents willingly or unwillingly looking the other way or being a direct cause into it. That was fueled a lot of my suspicions with the family being involved. The pageants, her parading around like a little trollop. You can find all sorts. She looked like she looked like Marilyn Monroe. It was hypersexualized. That was a big part of the whole narrative, was her being extraordinarily sexualized. For this hypersexualized girl to be like garroted and BDSM'd in the basement.
Yeah.
That's grotesque.
Absolutely. But I guess the only benefit is that what you're saying is that didn't happen. I guess.
Oh, guess what? Guess what her name anagrams to? Last one.
I think I heard you say this somewhere else, but I can't remember it.
Yes. Okay. So
You were gleeful about this.
I love words. I love wordplay. I think so much is revealed in the names. I feel like some people are perfectly named. And JonBenet Ramsey, who was infamously found slaughtered in the basement of her family home, her name anagrams to "Enjoy Our Basement."
Wild stuff.
Yeah, I think that's wild.
Yeah.
And it's a perfect anagram. You're not missing any. The R is an R, like Toys R Us. But I think that goes.
Oh, okay.
That goes without saying.
We'll let it slide.
Let it slide.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, but the mom, what was the one thing I saw you say where the mom, there was.
Oh, her pageants too.
Her pageants, like that 1 year is.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
There's no
her
record
year
of
that
it or something?
When I was looking into it in 2020, the year that she was said to have competed on the big stage, Miss America.
She was in what, Miss America?
She was in. She was Miss.
Or Miss
Kentucky.
Universe or something.
It was Miss America pageant. Miss USA. What was her?
HV, hold on a second. We got a call here.
Miss
So,
West Virginia. Miss West Virginia competing as Miss America.
Okay,
but there was no footage available.
Hello.
What's up, Danny?
Hello. You are on the air with HV. Who am I speaking with?
This is the Goob.
The Goob. How you doing, buddy? Can you hear him?
I'm
HV?
doing great.
Okay. So what's your question? What do you think?
Yeah, so it's a lot to take in. So I apologize if you already said this, but have you covered who is doing all of this? Because it's a global deception, right? So who is pulling this global deception?
Great question. I don't go into who. I don't know who. I personally do not know who, and I think that the baddies that we've been given are smokescreens. I don't think we know who. I don't think we've been given the name. I think that everybody that we think is the boogeyman or the Illuminati or the 13 families or all the, or the 3-letter agencies, I think a lot of that is just a smokescreen. I know that sounds like a cop-out, but I also want, the way that I explore, I want to empower the notion that we do not need to know who built the machine to recognize a flaw in the machine. And I think that that's kind of important too. I'm recognizing a flaw in the machine.
But to you, it's unimportant who's actually responsible for it.
Well,
or not important, but that's not what you're
specifically
kind of after.
It is important. I don't know, but I do have a great suspicion that who we've been kind of told are the ones in charge. The people we're usually given power. We empower in our minds these people that we think might have done it. CIA keeps coming to mind. We think the CIA does everything. I don't think they do shit. I think it's all just this weird theater of the mind. But I don't know who's ultimately in control of the of the puppeteering strings above the networks above. But I do understand that, like, everything we understand is like network news, and even cable news is still part of networks. That's all scripted. I don't know who does the original scripting, who the scriptwriter is, the architect of the scripts. But I do believe that what we understand is this reality that we're experiencing. It's scripted in a way that is both like dialogue on a page, like a story, like scripted out, but it's also scripted in a way of a computer language where a script is a line of auto-executing code. And I think that this place is, you guys talked about math in the openers, and math is math. This whole place, it really is math. I'm amazed every time I look at nature. I'm like, nature is just fucking math, you know? And
the underlying code, I suppose.
I think that there's a code. I think that's kind of why like numbers always pop up everywhere. And what we understand is these, where people are calling out like, why does every single thing need to have a 33 in it? Or, there's some really, really obvious codedness that's surface level. That's just really obvious to see now. And I don't know who's doing it, but I see it. I can see it filtering out. I can see it filtering through in all the places that I look. I can kind of see the arm and the web. I can kind of see each little tentacle peeking out. But at the what's behind
They're
all
like
that. I don't know.
Seeing
But
through the matrix.
yeah, maybe it's just a man behind a green curtain, like in Wizard of Oz. It's not a deep state. Like, Danny, you talked about that earlier. Like, what do I think about the deep state? I surmise that it's not a deep state at all. And what we understand is like a wide deception. It may be wide reaching, but ultimately it's very shallow. And these characters, I've noticed, it can only
Shallow
really
in the
exist
sense
in
that
their
it's
own world.
limited people.
Limited. It's weird that JonBenet Ramsey's dad ended up dating Natalie Holloway's mom.
Is that true?
Weird. Yeah, that's public.
He's not with Patsy Ramsey.
She passed.
Oh, I didn't
Patsy
know that.
passed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I did know that.
And he, his dating pool was other parents of slain blonde girls. Just okay. It's a shallow pool that he and there's these weird similarities between the Chris Watts case, which is in Colorado, that happened. There's some weird goings on between all of it in Columbine, which happened not that long after JonBenet.
You think there's
also
some
in
sort of
Colorado.
thread between them?
I think there's a thread connecting all of this stuff.
When you say all of this stuff, you think just all like televised?
Deception, all the modern warfare, like the deception on our minds. I think there's a lot of fakery that we're experiencing. And I think that the person that writes one fakery is writing the other fakery. Okay, that's the wrong term. The entity or whatever, the script.
Whoever's the puppet masters.
Yeah, puppet master is probably the most apt term. The puppet pulling strings. I think that they're doing it all.
Okay,
they're doing it all.
Goob, any other questions?
Yeah. Are you single?
I'm divorced. I had to.
What a coincidence.
This was it's kind of tough to. He's a wonderful person, but I don't blame him. It was tough to listen to me say these things, and that's it is what it is.
I meant what a coincidence because I'm divorced as well. Not that.
Yeah, he wasn't.
I just thought,
we have so much in common.
I thought you meant because you're so crazy. It's what a coincidence.
No. I was saying we have so much in common there.
I took that the wrong way. I was assuming that how crazy I am.
Goob's shooting a shot. All right, Goob. Thanks, man.
Shot.
All right.
Nice to meet you. That was a great question. Thank you for entertaining.
Yeah, Goob's the man.
Thank you. Great question.
Okay. Goob, everybody. Phone lines are open. Yeah, I didn't know that the Natalie. Which one was Natalie Holloway again?
Aruba. She was.
Oh, right.
Jordan Vandersloot, a
Jordan
Dutch
Vandersloot,
boy.
Right. Yeah. Okay, we got another call here. One moment, please. Let me just patch you together. Hello?
Danny, it's JR in Canada. How you doing?
Hey, one sec, JR. And you are on the line with Human Vibration.
Hey, HV. I read your whole thread a while ago. It's very interesting.
Thank you.
You said something very recently, though, about why does everything have to have the number 33 in it? And that piqued my interest because I just posted a video. I think I put it in the LVM Discord that it was a montage of like every U.S. state at the beginning of the corona pandemic saying 33 new cases of coronavirus, 33 new cases of coronavirus. It was every single one of them was announcing 33 cases. And I just wanted you to tell me what the significance of 33 is. And I'll hang up and listen on the show. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, JR.
Ooh.
Bye, Danny.
This is
So is that a numerology? That's like a numerology, like Gematria thing?
This is such an interest. It fascinates me, but this is one of the numbers is one of the things that I can recognize, but I can't communicate. I can't explain what the numbers mean. There are people that devote so much time to Gematria. I don't even know how to say it.
I think,
and that is not a slight on it because I think that there are definitely ways to break down characters into words and numbers and break them down into different types of meanings and bases that can be illuminating. There's lots of 33s. I clock them. I clock the Jesus being 33, the 33 vertebrae of the spine. There's a lot of significant 33s that seem to
But you don't know why. You just see,
I
it's
don't
just
know
a pattern
why.
you continue to see.
I'm a pattern recognition agent. I find that that's something that I do very well. I'm kind of just good at the pattern recognition. I don't have the explanation as to what it means, but I will say that I think that just the fact that the pattern is recognized, I think that you should look to other sources, people that have devoted. I'm not the one to explain why 33 is happening. Ultimately, I think it's a tell. I think it's a tell of some sort of deception, some sort of this is an indication that what you're seeing is some sort of mind game. I think it's code for deception of some sort. It's this mark as a signature of a puppet master.
That's the through line there. Okay. All right, we got another call.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? I missed it. We actually have another question from Indy Keegan. He says, "Have you heard about the JonBenet Ramsey lived and grew up to be Katy Perry?"
Yeah, I entertain that. There's a lot of similarities in the they look. There's a lot of imagery of Katy Perry as an adult wearing clothing that is similar to what JonBenet Ramsey wore in her little pageant things. You can put them side by side and like their faces, there's a lot of I could see it. They kind of look similar.
There's a resemblance.
I don't believe that they're
that is. Well, you don't believe she existed.
I don't believe JonBenet Ramsey grew up to be Katy Perry, but I do
believe she existed. So how could you believe that?
I do think it's very significant that a lot of the people that make it to the big stage have specific, hyper specific looks. And we're seeing that a lot now with like this actor looks like this actor. And why do all of these act like that one with Margot Robbie where she looks like every other blonde actress around her? There's like 9 of them that all look the same. Like if you didn't have a familiarity with them, you might think that's all the same girl, I think that there is something, it's an archetypal preference. And I think that certain people with these patterns on their faces get naturally, it's like separating the wheat from the chaff. And I think that certain looks make it. And these people, and I do believe that there's real celebs. I do believe there's real celebs. But on the highest of high echelons, those absolute icons. I think that there's
okay. We got a call here. One sec. Hello, caller.
Hey.
Hey, 1 second. Just waiting to connect you. And you're on the air with Human Vibration. Who am I speaking with?
Perfect. 00173335.
All right.
As always, the Canadian.
Yeah, the Canadian. Fellow Canadian from Quebec. All right. What's your question?
Well, I have one for you and one for the lovely lady. I'm going to hit you up first.
Sure.
So there's kind of a conspiracy happening in the chat if you're not too aware. We think the 100 votes thing, 100 votes thing for a free channel membership on, sorry, the female, it keeps going to Goob. It's happened several times.
Yeah, you know what? It's you. So I give if you gift channel memberships on YouTube, it's YouTube decides. There's no.
Yeah, I know. I'm well aware. It's just funny that Goob keeps winning it.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people. I think there's several people who have won them over and over and over again. I think it's based on how active they are in the chat. I don't know though. I would not concede that that's any sort of conspiracy. All right, question for our guest.
Favoritism. Yeah. So basically, you were talking about digital photos and everything along those lines and everything. But would you believe more in like older photos, like Polaroids and everything, which were like captured light reflected onto a film? So it's kind of like a moment in time captured, more so than a digital. So if someone had like a Polaroid photo or like an old timey camera photo of a person, would that be more credible?
Yeah, the physical versus the digital. That's a great point. If I could see some film negatives, perhaps, but that can be recreated. You can recreate transfer of light on a film negative. That's actually, you actually can do that. You can. There's ways to even trick film. But yeah, if I saw Polaroids of her, I might feel a little bit different. Polaroids that I knew were taken, those are
like original copy sets. 100% free. Like it's type of situations where it's
that's a great thing.
Well, as soon as it's out of like, unless you took it directly or the person that did the film, whenever something goes into a third party's hands, you can't be sure if it's tampered.
Yeah. Film is so interesting though, just as a capture, how cameras work, how it's all very fascinating to me.
Pinhole cameras, they've been around for longer than people think, and they're just kind of an interesting technology. Oh, no, that was basically it. I just wanted to know your opinion on non-digital formats. I mean, like, of course, if I said, hey, this is a Polaroid of her, you never met me before. You don't know if I just did a really...
Yeah, I feel like that could be...
I'm surprised there's not.
Yeah.
I'm surprised there's no scans of Polaroids of JonBenet, because the Polaroids were pretty popular back then. That's, still...
That was before digital cameras had taken off.
Way before digital cameras were in every pocket. Yeah.
Well, like the one that you got me actually kind of convinced was if she is, like, if it isn't just a media hype up, just trying to make her sound like the pretty princess, like, but if she was in pageants, there would be a bunch of photos of her, even if it was the 90s and everything. Because, like, let's be serious here, since, like, more photos are easier to take than with film. People have been taking photos, like, exponentially since, like, forever. Like, I don't remember the stat, but it's like every year we take more photos in the last year since, like, X amount of years, like 2008, when digital cameras became more readily available. But, like, if she was a beauty pageant queen, she should have a bunch of photos of her taken, like, especially, like, in the 90s. Like, like how many photos were your parents taking when you won an award or did something well or just playing around? Like, it's memories that people take to remember things. So if she was doing this, they would take photos of it, especially if she was, like, such a good winner.
And her photos of the pageantry that's interesting, because the photos of the pageantry aren't those proud mom from the audience photos. It's all just professional. It's all just
there are none.
studio. It's interesting. It's interesting. There's been, but as I say this, there's always new images of her being released. Like, there's new documentaries being created, and these documentaries, quote unquote, they did this Jeffrey Epstein documentary. These documentaries are just vehicles for new media that never before seen, new images to be, and they're never before seen because they never existed before. They're being created for this new vehicle, and that's a way to introduce all this new media that makes the persona seem even more robust and real. When,
especially with you screw around with Midjourney 5.
It's fascinating, and
it's amazing.
I personally have not. I've capped out at Dolly and Chat GPT, but boy, those two things can keep you quite busy.
Midjourney, the photos, the hyper realistic, like, photos of people it's really crazy. Like, people will post a photo being like, "Is this real or fake?" And you really cannot tell.
It's getting very difficult to tell.
Yeah. All right.
I think I'm pretty good at telling.
Yeah. Any other question, caller?
Yeah, just one more before I let you guys go. Is there any, in your opinion, of course, to the lovely lady, not you, Danny?
Yep.
What would you consider proof of existence? Like, what would you have to see, barring, like, of course, you being in person and everything and seeing them? Like, where would you draw the line where you're like, oh, that's a real person, versus, like, this is just kind of like an actor stage to be someone / like a plant, if not just a... Because I'm not 100% sure if you think people are, like, actors, where, like, Epstein was, like, just a paid guy to be Epstein, and then he was just a front man, so if anything ever went bad, he was the fall guy. Or if you're saying there's digital people that are only on documents and online for maybe, I don't know, like, money laundering or what have you, like, you can make money off of stuff like that. But I just don't quite understand where your line is, and if it's a little bit of both, what would convince you of a person being more real than a virtual person?
These are great questions. Man, you've got such an astute audience. I love it. I think you are right. It is both. I think that there are some entities that don't have any need to exist outside of the screen or on paper, and entering into even, a legal person, which is different than a natural born person. It just exists in law. A legal person can enter into every type of contract that I could, yet they don't exist at all. They don't exist materially. They only exist on paper. So mechanically, for an existence to be populated through all these documentation sources that any normal person would point to and go, look, all these documents, certificates, they go. So I think
what is it, the forgery or whatever it's called?
Yeah.
It's where you forge, like, it's like what people do like illegally saying, "Oh, I have extra children," when I don't actually have extra children. I understand.
Not
the
even for
forgery.
that too. I think they're just frontmen, like a character to represent
an actor,
something like a shell company, but for a person.
Wasn't there that movie a few years back with Saddam Hussein, like his, hey, you're going to be my body double, but you have to live like me?
Yes. Oh,
So,
he was reported to have like 200 body doubles.
He had tons of body doubles, yeah.
Or 1,000, 2,000, I can't remember.
Like
Yeah.
that is 100% real. I mean,
but everyone's trying.
Okay.
Also, before I let you go, you just reminded me of something. Have you ever heard of the basilisk theory? Basilisk theory or basilisk paradox?
Say that one more time.
Paradox?
Basilisk. Yeah. So like the snake that if it looks at you, you get turned to stone.
Medusa?
So the theory is eventually.
Medusa's
Greek, different. Greek. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
But long story short, it's basically there's going to be an AI that will be able to go back in time and find out people who didn't try helping it get built and be able to torture
Martin
them.
Shkreli was telling me about this. Yeah, Martin Shkreli was talking about this. He said that he's like they'll come back. Yeah, all right, thanks, caller. Yeah, Martin Shkreli was telling basically that AI will come back, and then if you were against AI, it'll kill you. Like, because it'll basically eventually get so good.
Hey,
that
I'm pro. I'm like, hey, AI is powerful. Like, they're not going to have any problem with me because I've been touting them for a long time.
I mean, for all I know, I might be talking to AI right now. Might be the best version of it. Or you might be. That's the one where you really, you could really start doubting, I mean, again, the craziest part about it all is that we're only 6 months into this whole thing. Okay, we got another call. One moment, please. Hey, thanks for calling Low Value Mail. 1 second while I patch you in. Who am I speaking with?
This is Chris.
Hello? Hello? Oh, did we lose
Hey,
him?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, got you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hey, Danny, what's going on, bro? This is Chris.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing. I had a call and you guys started talking about numbers in Gematria.
Yeah, you do. This is our Gematria resident.
Why 33? What's up with 33?
That's Masonic. That's why the highest degree in Masonry is 33. That's why you saw all the 33s going on. I have over 200 like clips of someone dying 33 cases, this and that. I mean, that's why the highest level in Freemasonry is a 33rd degree. That's why Disney has his Club 33. A bunch of people, although Disney technically wasn't a Mason, he was a DeMolay, which is like an offshoot of the Masons. But that's why you're always going to see the 33s. Because at the end of the day, all the rituals that are run, they all come through the ancient rituals of Masonry.
And they say 33rd degree is the highest of Masonry? 33rd Mason?
33 is the highest degree Mason. That's why you'll look at all the people, anytime you see someone with their hand in their coat pocket, that one, if you look at anybody who's been anything, they're going to be a 33rd degree Mason. So that's the importance of 33, for sure.
Masonry, yeah. Makes sense.
But into the JonBenet Ramsey thing, I think I heard you were on tinfoil hat, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
Okay, I think that's when I first got hit to you a couple years back. But real quick, so I can drop just a couple of things. Because like I said, the codes, you wonder why everything happens in Colorado. Well, Colorado is 38 and 83, and that's the death number. Death equals 38, and the day JonBenet Ramsey was killed, 12/26, you add it up, it's 38.
Oh.
So clearly, whatever they're doing, that's why Colin.
Why is 38 death?
When you write out death and murder, they all equal 38 and 83.
Yeah, and the
in
numerology,
Colorado,
like
when you write out Colorado, so it's A is 1, B is 2, 3 is C, and then you run it in reverse where Z would be 1. So you have different ciphers you run it through. But with JonBenet, the Colorado thing, that's why you had the Aurora shooting, the Columbine. They all start off whatever's going to be whatever ritual they're starting in. So whatever the JonBenet thing was, whether real or fake, I can break it down exactly why it happened. Because A, she dies on the 38th death day, and when you write out her whole name, JonBenet Patricia Ramsey, it equals 135 and 351. Well, the day that she died, 12/26, 1996, you add all those numbers up, it's 153, which is the reverse of 351 and the inverse of 153. They like to do that. Now, another crazy thing is sacrifice in the purest cipher, which is, this all comes from Kabbalah. Sacrifice is 206. Since number 0 is not a number, you take it out and it's 26. She's killed on the 26th.
Wasn't she killed on the 25th, though?
Also,
no, 26th. It was Christmas. It was Christmas night.
Sure.
Christmas
okay.
night.
Christmas,
and they go forward and backward. The actual date of death, declared date of death, is the 26th, the next day.
Just remind me though. I want to ask about the ransom note too. Why that? that was a weird one too. Anyways, yeah. Sorry, caller. What else you got with this? Sorry to cut you off there.
Well, it was Patricia Ramsey. Her mother died in 2006, and she was married to John, her husband, for 26 years. So this number, I'm assuming, I don't know if she's real or not, if she was groomed to be killed. He was a Lockheed Martin dude, had contracts. They like to sacrifice stuff, or I'm all into the other. They could create something to cause a thought, put something in the ether that creates a chain reaction. She was talking about, they brought up all the DNA stuff. But regardless, when you type in all these numbers, they all make sense. I mean, especially with her being killed on a 38th day in the 38th state.
Oh my God. I'm so glad we had backup.
Yeah,
I would have never described. I would have never gotten there. I would have never landed that plane.
The minute I heard numbers in Gematria, Danny knew I had a call.
Yeah. I knew I'd be hearing from you. Did you know this stuff already, or did you run this through the stuff? Like, did you already know this all?
I had already kind of looked at it. Once I found all this stuff out, I started looking into a bunch of people's deaths because I'm like, for Marilyn Monroe to Natalie Wood, you can see them all and be like, oh, shit. This all just lines up perfectly. Now, is this an organic? And also, from JonBenet Ramsey's death to her upcoming birthday would have been 223 days. And that's the Skull and Bones. So that's why this year it's going to be some crazy stuff. 223, yeah. So from her birthday all the way to her upcoming birthday would have been, by the way,
her
she's still the 8-6.
Her upcoming birthday, yeah.
Or
August 6th.
Her birthday is 8-6, which is, when someone's 86. So the automatic.
Damn it! Oh no, I missed that. 86.
Yeah.
Fuck, that's right there. So, August 6th.
Yeah, that's how they do it. So
there you go.
I love it. You guys are doing great. Keep it up. I love it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. That was great.
Right.
Oh man,
we got another call. One moment, please. Oh, hold on. I gotta remove. Sorry. Hello. Hello. You're on the air with Human Vibration. Who am I speaking with?
Hello.
Hi, Danny. This is Jeremy.
Jeremy, how you doing, man?
Good. All right. So I've got to say, I've been listening to this lady you're talking to. She makes Flat Earth Dave seem rational and level-headed.
I'm so glad we finally had. I'm so glad So I need a proper dressing down. Give it to me.
Right. Okay. So I've been reading about JonBenet Ramsey case for a few years now. I've read some of the books, and just to
you've read the books.
Episode, so
her Umber of Suspicion. Which ones?
I read the Little Town, the Perfect Town, Perfect Murder.
Perfect Town, Perfect Murder. Yeah.
You've read this, H3?
I read a few.
Okay.
These are wonderful books.
But you read them yourself, HV?
Oh, I was all over them when I thought she had been murdered. Oh yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're great.
All right, Jeremy, right. Go ahead.
All right, so I'm reading these books for a few years. I'm very interested in the whole case and everything, and just I missed the beginning of the episode, Danny. But by the way, Danny, I love your show, so I try to catch it, but I missed the beginning. And did the lady, did she say that JonBenet Ramsey didn't actually exist? Like the detectives didn't see her body and the police didn't see her body at all? Is that right?
Let's talk about that one.
I believe that is what. Yes, she does say that. Yes, that is.
Was she like a crisis actress?
I don't think that she ever existed materially. I don't believe that she ever was received at the morgue, and I don't believe she ever existed materially. And no police or detective ever witnessed her body. It was if you, any of them, you'll see about it being her being covered under a sheet, under a white sheet, like a ghost. You know what ghosts are, empty underneath. But
well, John, the father found her in a blanket in the basement, right?
Right.
So, and she was wrapped in a blanket, and then he brought the body up to the ground floor, where the living room is,
and they put it under the Christmas tree.
And the
the mother,
the police were there at the time.
Right, but it was still under the white sheet. Nobody saw a body. Everybody saw a white sheet.
So no one took a little peekaboo under the blanket. They just trusted him to say, like, it could have been like a sack of potatoes.
You know, it was just these two detectives. Before, it was just this guy named Rick French and another guy named Carl Weicht. And there's just these two like young detectives that not even detectives, they're just officers. They're just like guys on patrol by the college. And they show up. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. The family is already in full PR mode. Like the family is already, they've already been dealing, like they don't get around. Like they just kind of observe. They kind of just observe the family who already has like friends over, you know, these not disciples, but the story goes like these Fleet White and his family, they were friends, and he's like high up in Boulder. The neighbors, they come over. Like there's already like a situation room that these these not even detectives, these police officers that like literally were just drinking their coffee and donuts. Like, and the most that they've ever seen recently is like, probably a kid getting too drunk. So they show up, they don't do anything. Nobody does anything. No police do. Nobody sees. And the morgue comes and picks up the body very soon after. So all the family has to do.
The morgue doesn't pick up the body. The morgue picks up like a blanket.
The blanket.
With, I don't know, old soup cans. I mean, what's in the blanket? I mean, what's in there?
Well, probably
just whatever is meant to conceal the.
I think this is a high level operation. I think so.
Cat, perhaps.
What was the thing with there was no yellow tape?
The parents also went on Larry King. They said they never received the death certificate, but they also said that their house was never a crime scene. They were so adamant about that. They were like weirdly adamant on Larry King Live to Larry King, like declaring that their house was never a crime scene. Their house never had yellow tape. They were like for sure certain about this. They went on and on about it. Specifically it being a crime scene. But then all the photographs, all the photos, it's strewn about with crime scene tape. There's crime scene tape everywhere. Yellow tape is just all over the front yard. So there's a disconnect there.
The local police definitely did a terrible job of what they were supposed to do. They didn't understand the gravity of the situation. That's definitely well documented now, and I think there's any.
And I think that was by design, because I don't think they're in on it. I don't think that they're in on it. I think people showed up, they were totally ill-equipped to do anything law related, and they were just like waiting for backup to come and save them. And all that had to happen for this entire crime, for this entire story to propagate from point zero, all that had to happen was for these two officers that showed up to be fooled for a couple of hours. And there were so many histrionics, like the mom, they couldn't see the body because the mom had covered herself. The character playing the mom covered herself, like laid her body on the body. And so not only was she covering the seat, like these two guys were just like, I don't know what to do. Like, nobody saw the body.
But okay, here's the important thing, right? So there's a blanket with like, a doll inside or something, or whatever the theory is. They take it to the local coroner, like the medical examiner, and they do an autopsy. So what do they do?
I don't think an autopsy was done. I don't think an autopsy was done because in the thread, which is one of the most, I think, damning things, there was this is crazy, but the autopsy report was public. The public was seething for an autopsy report, so they publicized it, which is crazy. It's against so many like it's that for that to happen, but the public needed it, and so they released it. But what's interesting is there was a version of the autopsy report published on the Denver Post website in August before her death. In August of 1996, months before the death of JonBenet Ramsey, a copy of the death certificate of not the death certificate, because that never did. The autopsy report of JonBenet Ramsey existed, hosted on the server, of the dimmer post. This is in my thread, and it's
Yeah,
still
I saw that on
crazy.
your Twitter thread.
It's still
by the
up.
way, if people can, in the description right now, there's a link to the thread so people can check it out.
This happened with Columbine too. MTV hosted a story about Columbine before Columbine happened. And it would be one thing if it was the same autopsy report. And it's someone, I'm like, okay, this is early internet. Maybe someone like back archived this incorrectly. All these things, but it's different. It's like a rough draft.
What were the key differences between them?
Something there. I'd have to go back into the thread. It's all in thread because I found this mind-boggling. There was something about the contents of her stomach, which have always been part of this conspiracy. The pineapple in her stomach that was changed from the
what is the conspiracy about the pineapple?
Something about pineapple, it being pineapple in her stomach, and it was because she stole her brother's pineapple and he killed her. That's been one theory. Undigested pineapple. So it must have been
undigested pineapple, which meant that if she had been killed and the time it took for her, her heart to stop, and therefore the pineapple would have been digested in her.
I think pineapple is a cue for pineal. Like I think it's another trick. I think it's like telling it, like the fact that pineapple is there.
Like
I just think the
gland?
pineapple. I think it's just telling us this is just a and the fact that the pineapple changed from the rough draft to the final thing. The rough draft. I keep calling it the rough draft, but it existed before she was dead. Story goes. So before her death event occurred. There's some, and the fact that that's like such a glaring thing in our mind, and that was like materially changed from the rough draft to the final copy. Something's up with the pineapple, and I'm like, what does pineapple represent? What does pineapple represent? And I think it represents pineal. I think it represents our consciousness. I think it's like a little wink that we're being tricked. It's a hood. It's a little magician's
a little nod.
Little wink nod.
Benny, can I just ask? Benny,
yes.
Can I ask one more question, and then I'll get off? Okay.
Yes.
So I've got the autopsy report open now. I'm looking at John Meyer was the name of the pathologist who did this. Yeah. So what have you researched about John Meyer? Because John Meyer must be in on it, obviously, because he's fabricating an autopsy that didn't exist according to you, and not only that, also the police officers, the detectives, they're all in on this big hoax and cover up. So what's the theory there? Like, why would they go along with it?
He's been involved with quite a few notable autopsies, and I think
what were the other ones?
I think he recently had what is it called when you give advice or whatever on the George Floyd autopsy, or whether he was the same person that did it.
Testimony or no?
Not testimony, but guidance, or whatever the official term for guidance is. Like he gave his whatever on George. Yeah, so he's been involved in many high profile, what I believe to be like Lush. Let me see. I think I have a little.
What is the Lush thing again? By the way, quick question from we have.
Lush.
Yeah, but just one quick question. Do you think that Donald Trump and Joe Biden are real? This was.
Joe Biden, something's going on. Obviously, he's had new earlobes. He's had new earlobes every decade. He gets a new pair of ears. It seems. I think that it's character. I think that it's character. And Trump's looking quite different these days. Trump's always been a reality TV character. Like he's always been,
and
he's always existed in name only too. Like Trump real estate, all we understand is Trump real estate. Like he's never owned a thing. It's just a licensing deals for his name on buildings. That's not real estate prowess.
Is anyone real? Is anyone real?
I question my own existence every day. I know.
I can't believe you only recently got into psychedelic drugs.
Psychedelics. You know what? I think I've always been pretty psychedelic. Yeah. Like I've always just kind of had radical weird thoughts, and my whole life I've been told I'm weird. And like I just kind of think psychedelic. I mean, I think people maybe have always had the impression that I was on mushrooms already, like, because that's how I kind of do feel. I don't really feel like the mushrooms unlocked something I couldn't have gotten to, but I feel like they just magnified where I already was. And so, but I don't think that there's something to be overdone. Anyway, psychedelic.
All right, caller.
But
okay,
Lush,
thanks for taking my call. I think you're weird, and I don't believe you, but I appreciate the conversation, so it was enjoyable.
Was that me or
one
her?
last thing? No, well, it's probably me. But one last thing I want to say.
I mean, yeah.
I would like to say I appreciate how invested, you've read the books. That shows that you're keenly interested in it. This case is it's juicy. It's good.
It is.
Like it's
definitely
very,
weird.
very well done. And it's still unsolved.
I mean,
I like to say it's designed to be unsolvable. It's not unsolved.
Right.
Well, if all the
It's
conspirators
designed
were
to be
doing their
insolvable.
jobs, then it can't be solved because it's the conspiracy, right?
Rabbit holes designed to lose ourselves down, and actually how rabbit holes are constructed. If you look at like the mechanics of a rabbit hole, it's designed. It goes like these zigzags back and forth for the sole purpose of limiting light.
HB, hold that thought. We got a call here. Sorry about that. Hello, Andreas.
Hey, girl. What's up?
Just 1 second. We're
I
just
shouldn't.
wait, one
You
sec.
do.
Just waiting to connect you, and you're connected. We got our boy Andreas Exertus on the line. I don't know if you know
Hello.
him. He's a
Hey, girl.
YouTuber as well, and he has a great show. Are you
I
just
gotta
wrap
stop
up your
bugging
stream?
you every time you do a show. I know. I'm sorry.
No. not at
Yeah,
all. Dude.
but I just was like, we were talking about some of the same stuff actually, and this is really interesting. I love your guest. I love what she's bringing to the table. It's really important stuff that people have kind of forgotten about. And anytime someone brings it up, they get shut down because we have this innocent until proven guilty thing, which is great. But even Trey Parker and Matt Stone did an episode about JonBenet Ramsey, and then they had to walk it back. So it's been pretty interesting. And the thing I wanted to ask
What
is
did they
if you
have
had
to
any
walk
thoughts on
back?
Heather O'Rourke.
Ooh, Heather
They were
O'Rourke.
like, it's the only thing Trey Parker has ever admitted. He was like, I shouldn't have done that. I feel bad that I did that because, and he just kind of stepped back from the whole thing. But I wanted to bring up the Heather O'Rourke thing because
love it.
the longest story do you want to bring it? You could say what you know about it, actually.
Well,
you know what I'm talking about?
Andreas, give us. I don't even know who that is, so give us a little backstory.
Poltergeist.
So if you ever watched Poltergeist, they're here, so that little girl, Heather O'Rourke, she was like this cute little kid, kind of similar looking to JonBenet Ramsey, and she died from, was it like
ruptured colon, like a broken colon, essentially.
You're talking about the actor.
Congenital stenosis of intestines. Correct. The actress died of congenital stenosis of intestines complicated by septic shock.
Yeah.
And the longest question was like, how did this happen to this girl? Now, we won't say anything like to accuse anybody. Let's just mention that there's been a number of conspiracy theories about the producer and director of the show, including Steven Spielberg. And there was the top lawyer that confirmed that Poltergeist child actor was probably involved and perhaps killed through some Hollywood pedophile ring. And so it calls into this question, like, is this something that's happening pretty commonly? We've seen this over and over again. It's interesting when it's to a child star, someone who's far more famous. But, it's also, we're like, who do you trust and who do you blame? And could it be that Steven Spielberg is part of this, thing as well?
I used to think that. I did. I believed deeply that Steven Spielberg was responsible for the death of Heather O'Rourke because of systematic abuse. That's what I believed. I don't believe that anymore. I believe that we're meant to think that. I believe that there's an incredible polarization that happens with these. Steve Spielberg is an idol. The death again, the number of people that died related to Poltergeist. We could have a whole episode on that. Like
Related
the
to the
deaths
film
related to the show,
Poltergeist.
the film Poltergeist. Like so many crazy deaths related to that movie. But the death of Heather O'Rourke, I think, probably stands out as the most significant. I don't know what happened to Heather O'Rourke. I do know that it looks like a different girl played Carol Ann in every Poltergeist movie, and then she died, and then the person we knew as Heather O'Rourke died. But I don't know who Heather. I don't know. It isn't like did you notice that like the last Poltergeist that she was in, she looks entirely different, like a completely different child. It doesn't even look like Heather O'Rourke. It's a completely different child. I think something's fishy with that whole death. I used to think that she got her death was incredibly unfortunate and it deeply demonic, essentially, with what happened to her. But now I question the entire narrative. I don't even know if Spielberg is truly like who knows who's putting out these movies? Like, who knows what I don't know. I just kind of maybe think they're like storefronts for these ideas that need to propagate in our minds, and we just, like even Kubrick. I don't know if Stanley Kubrick even exists. He never, he was like so secretive in the process, but his movies are heralded as all these things, and Eyes Wide Shut seems to point to this Luciferian Illuminati network, and it seems to like prove that satanic and Hollywood is intertwined. And then he died mysteriously after. I don't know. I think things look really bad. I think things look really, really, really bad when you take one layer off. It's like, holy shit, Satan's everywhere. Holy shit, everyone is getting satanic ritually abused. Everyone's getting suicided. It's awful, and then you take one more layer off, which is kind of where I am. I'm not saying that this is ultimately everyone has to land there. I'm saying this is where I've landed right now. What I see now is I'm like, oh, this is just like theater of the absurd. This is so incredibly grotesque. I don't believe it's true or real. That doesn't mean no bad things happen in the world. But what we're being projected.
Oh, on an existential level, I agree. I mean, so in the sense that, especially if you've gone through trauma, the most reasonable thing to do is to assume that all moments before this didn't happen, that they're just arrangements so that you can exist now. So you just from there go on assuming that every other moment is simultaneously happening in the future and in the past, and they're all just a symmetry of energy and spirit. But then still, there's the question of the butterfly effect and how much we affect each other. And so if you really follow through with that, what you're saying is you've created all the pedophiles in the world, if they exist at all. And so it's probably the best responsibility you can take to start to say they don't exist. But
I think hurt people. I think the caller's usually coming from inside the house, like they say in all the horror movies and stuff. I think that it's usually happening really close to home. I think people do get hurt on a very close level. I don't believe it's stranger danger, like the milk carton kids. I did a whole thread on that. I don't think not one of them was ever found.
It wasn't some Puerto Rican guy, as the South Park episode said. Yeah.
I believe that trauma happens very close to home. That it's propagated and hurt, and generational trauma is passed down until the buck stops here, until you stop the end of the line. But because it does happen on this micro level a lot, I do believe it happens a lot, like trauma of all flavors. I think that when we are shown something through the media, it's so much more believable because we know monsters. We know monsters in our real lives.
That's fair. Like, we've never met JonBenet. I can't prove that JonBenet Ramsey. I never met her before. All I know is about her death. Her death exists to me far more than she ever did.
Oh, big time. I mean,
that's such a good way to put it.
Tons of people know who she is.
Yeah.
Or have heard of her.
Well, no, they don't. I don't know anything about her. I only
Not
know
about
the
her, but
they've
heard of the story.
Yeah. And she's
imagine
singularly named.
In the future when we're
JonBenet.
dead and there's just videos of us on YouTube and they think this is what Danny is. This is all that Danny is.
This is literally all I am. This is pretty accurate.
No, you're so much more, babe. You're so much more.
No, I'm kidding. All right, Andreas, appreciate you calling in, man. Anything else?
Great question.
Yeah, Andreas is the man.
Thank you a lot. Love you all. Take care.
Later, Andreas. Andreas Exertus, everybody, go check out his YouTube channel.
That's great.
Yeah. He's into some cool stuff. All right. What was I didn't even write down. What was the thing I brought up to you?
Loosh.
No, not before. I forgot.
Before that? Ooh, I don't remember.
I meant to write it down. All right, we have another call.
Patsy Ramsey's pageant history?
I don't know. I missed it.
Okay, yeah, I'm trying to go back.
It's gone. Yeah. All right, we're going to take another call. One moment. Hello.
Danny.
Hey, what's up? 1 second. While we patch you through, and you are on the air with Human Vibration.
We are on the air.
Hello.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, what a great show tonight. This is amazing.
Thank you.
I think you might have even sold me a little bit because this is not one that I had heard before.
No, I never. I mean, I think you invented this one, HV. You're the first, which is kind of interesting in the sense that, like, you had this kind of thought, and then, if you go kind of on enough like podcasts, like it can kind of become its own thing, independent of you.
Yeah. Like loosh, the word loosh.
Loosh, yeah.
I feel like loosh gets talked about now.
Someone said it on my show before, like on an older episode. Someone used that term, and I remember I was like, I'd never heard that before. Yeah. Loosh has been brought up.
Before pre-2020?
No. It would have been in the last year. No, the show's only like a year old.
Okay, so that might have been just.
Yeah.
I think when I said it on Sam's show, on Sam Triple E's on Tinfoil Hat, that was like it just got it became outside of me the second it left my mouth. Yeah,
it's like a meme almost. I guess it's like a meme.
Yeah.
In that way.
But it's good.
Yeah.
But one thing to leave me and go far. Loosh is a good one. Loosh is a good concept to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's up?
Well, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask this question. Human vibrations. How do we know that you are not JonBenet Ramsey, and this is all just part of an elaborate hoax to sort of muddle the waters on everything and get people confused, like a misinformation campaign? Can you prove that for us?
I actually can't. I can't prove that. And actually, I can back up your theory that I am her, because there's this one photograph of her in a little Dutch girl outfit, and it's kind of the one that broke my brain because Ghislaine Maxwell appears to be in the background. If you just Google JonBenet Ramsey, Ghislaine Maxwell photo, you're going to see JonBenet Ramsey wearing this little it's like a traditional Dutch girl outfit, and she's just cheesing for the camera, and the way that she's positioned and what she's wearing is very specific. I have the exact same photo because I lived in Holland when I was a little kid. At the age of JonBenet, I lived in Holland, and I sat for the exact same photograph. Side by side, they are nearly identical.
Or what if you're not her, but what if that photo of you was used in the sample photos for their AI to generate?
And then that ended up waking me up, and that would be very Matrix of this place, and I think that's the only way I could have. I think that
X14Q Delta engaged.
Yeah.
I didn't.
I'm with you. Like, I'm not going to negate, but like you're right. You're correct. Yeah. I'm not going to argue with you one bit. I probably am the base model for JonBenet Ramsey. And that was meant to, like, you know how you were like obsessed, narcissist was obsessed with his own image. Perhaps this was just my narcissist, like my version of losing myself in the pool of reflection. I had to lose myself in a visage that reminded me of perhaps my own me. Like, I don't know, maybe like that's the only, maybe there was something to that. And I don't know, something about a little blonde girl.
Oh, life a sticker.
Life.
All right. Well,
all right, Walby. Thanks, man.
I gotta say, your callers are so delightful. Everyone's just
and I don't even have a screener either. This could go so off the rails, but no, everybody's cool.
I've been waiting. If you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. So
yeah. I mean, you gotta assume you're gonna get some questions, but everybody's generally pretty cool and respectful. All right, we have time for a couple more callers. Thank you again. I appreciate this very much for taking out the time. Let me just get this caller. Oh no, I can't hear you. Oh, hold on. Did I not press that? Sorry. What's going on? Why can't I invite him to? Oh, here we go.
Gilly from Florida.
Hey, Gilly, what's up? You are on with HV. What's up?
Hello, Gilly.
Hey, what's up? I got a question for the young lady. Are you calling her HP?
HV, human vibration.
Human vibration.
I could call her human vibration, but HV is a little easier.
HV.
Okay, HV. Okay, so 2 questions. 1, do you believe that the Earth is round?
No, I think
Are
the
you
plane
a
is
globalist?
flat. I think the plane that we're being rendered in, this realm, I think it's a flat plane. But perhaps the physics of that plane can be rendered in whatever shape is applied to it. I don't really think the shape matters. I don't think that we as the observers can really know. That's one of those things that like we're kept from really knowing. We can try to run experiments of all types, but I guess I just, until I go up in that helium balloon, that hot air balloon, and see the curvature for myself. But even then, I'm looking at the Earth through round eyeballs. I have to. There's all sorts of corrections that are happening.
Well, I think the world is, I think I'm part of the globalists where I think everything's round. Why would just only your eyeballs, raindrops, everything be round? And another question: have you taken any photography classes or videography classes?
Yes, I work closely with. I'm a hobbyist on photography, and I work closely with videographers. And I also do animation, computer graphics rendering, animation.
Just asking because I work very closely with security cameras and stuff like that, and
okay.
I see that artifacts or things that can happen in pictures to make some things look like other things. And that's where people, if you squint really closely, you're like, oh, man, that's Elaine Maxwell in the background, or it just could be just some random lady that looks alike.
Yeah, that's very true, because there's no conclusive evidence that that's just Elaine Maxwell. I kind of think she's a little ghost character, too, to be honest.
Really?
She was in prison. We still haven't really gotten a clear photograph. We still haven't gotten a mugshot from her.
Yeah.
Or did we finally get
one?
No, it was hundreds and hundreds of days.
We finally got
one.
From her from prison, I believe.
Remember that In and Out photo that was
she's real. I served her on the island.
You served?
Oh yeah, Gilly
was
an
that
employee.
mean?
Gilly was a waiter on Epstein Island. No, I'm kidding.
Oh. Yeah. I was like, dude, pray tell. Was it Club 33 Disney level? What? Anyway, yeah.
No, we had to walk around with blindfolds on, so we didn't see the kid fucking.
Yeah.
So more of an eyes wide shut, or more of an eyes wide shut.
Closer to what we think it was.
Yeah.
All right, Gilly.
Yeah, we had to walk around blindfolds, and then we had to use echolocation to walk around.
Tough job.
Ooh, echolocation. I think that maybe that's I kind of think that humanity, we should get rid of language. We should get rid of all languages. There should be no reason we have all these different languages, and we should get one that's based on song and clicks, essentially echolocation and
dolphins.
Vibration. Yeah, I don't know about that, but I'll talk to you later, Danny. Have a good one.
Well, since we brought it up, why not?
Yeah, why not? All right, we have time for one last caller. Again, thank you very much. Where can people find you if they want to hear more from you?
Yeah, if you want to hear more from me
or see more from you, or just
Real Eyes Radio, Real REAL, Real Eyes Radio. We have a bunch of free episodes on all major platforms. We also have a Patreon that was ongoing recording. It's basically everything that I explore, and also Rambo, my co-host, he's much more into sports and a lot of Hollywood special effects, and we kind of cover a lot of bases between me and him. Twitter at Human Vibration, and Insta at Human Vibration _Insta.
Okay, and you're on YouTube as well?
Nope.
Did you get the boot from there, or just not?
No, I just never. That's just that medium. Just haven't gone there yet. I have the material. I just haven't.
I recommend going on YouTube because it is it's great until you say something they don't like and then they kick you off. But until that point, it's quite a good service they offer. All right, last call of the night. One moment, please. Hello. Hello.
Oh.
Hey, what's
sorry,
up?
You must be a little bit behind on me.
Yeah, sorry about that. You are on with Human Vibrations. Last call of the night. Who am I speaking with?
Hi, I'm Jake.
Yeah, what's up,
fellow
Jake?
Comedian, big fan of the Boys Cast.
Oh, thank you, man.
Hello, Jake.
Hey, I know you guys are talking more about Benet Ramsey, but you were talking about who's they, and that's something I've been trying to figure out for years. And the simplest way I can say it is that when you study whatever the Illuminati are supposed to be, it's the exact same things that they want to do to society as what the communists want to do. Because if you look at the Bolshevik Revolution and everything that was like, hey, we want to, get rid of God, get rid of the family, reshape society in the same kind of 5 or 10-step plan, whatever it is. And anyways, the more I studied it, I realized, it's the same thing. It's just different arms of the same thing. It's the same way left and right pretend to be these different forces politically, but they're not really. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you guys.
I like the same bird communication, like the same bird analogy, two wings of the same. It really is. When we think of right and left, we think of this party, that party. It's all the same.
Yeah. That's Bill.
And
Hicks
then it rotates.
Bill Hicks had a great joke about that, actually, where it's everybody's like, yeah, this side has my beliefs and this side has my beliefs. And you're like, yeah, the person who's controlling both of them is the same person.
Yeah. He looks a lot like Alex Jones, doesn't he?
He does look a lot like Alex Jones. I know people who have met him, who have met both of them, and they're like...
I just think it's interesting, that these
certainly.
Yeah, these two minds shared a face.
Certainly it is. All right, thanks, caller. All right, that's been the show. Thank you very much for joining me. That was illuminating, to say the least. Great episode. Thank you again to everybody who's listening. We got your plugs. Everybody, come join me on the after show at 11 o'clock. We got all sorts of fun stuff, and you can sign up at Patreon to get access to that. Thank you very much to Human Vibrations for joining us tonight. We'll be back next week with Johnny Vedmore. You are all great. Have a good evening, and I'll see some of you soon. New episode of The Bathhouse tomorrow night, 10:30. See you there, and good night.
My shit heroic. Empathic abilities, yeah, my face be also stoic. Fleet blow up, nigga. That just means I'm working. They see me as a leader, so that's why I'm Captain Kirkin. These charts from the stars, that much is for certain. You can fit this hit if you up or if you hurt. I'm raising my stock, not talking my feet in some Birkin. Number Johnny 5 got a fucking short circuit. Bring the track to life when I spit phenomenal. When I hit, she feel that shit in her abdominals. These rappers make me laugh like comic view, they comical. You know I got a ball out, I hit the track running just like Sonic do. They don't want to turn on my light switch. Yeah, they was trying to get me on my hype shit. Yeah, they don't want to turn on my light switch. Yeah, and they tried to down me on some KO type shit. Yeah, they don't want to turn on my light switch. Yeah, now we pulling up fresh on some flight shit. They don't want to turn on my light switch. Yeah, they don't want to turn on my light switch. They don't want to turn on my light switch. Yeah, they was trying to get me on my hype shit. Yeah, they don't want to turn on my light switch. Yeah, and they tried to down me on some KO type shit. Yeah, they don't want to turn on my light switch.